Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the October episode of the Athens in Motion Commission meeting. The Motion Commission exists to implement the bike and pedestrian master plan, make recommendations to mayor and committee, commission on safety improvements, etc. Here is our agenda for today. I'll do roll call real quick. I am here. I don't see Art online yet, but I think he might be joining us soon. Teresa. Randy.
Here.
Alan.
Here.
Ed.
Yep.
Julie. Here. Craig will be in late and Blaine. All right, looks like we have a quorum. Daniel or Ronnie, any public comment?
No.
I'll go through the agenda real quick and we'll approve that, and then our September minutes. So I have some housekeeping items related to our meetings for the rest of the year. We'll talk about that. Major items today, our big major item is a update to the crosswalk policy, and we may be approving that today. Then report back on the bike and pedestrian programs that was presented to mayor and commission this month. Some slight changes to the goals for the Athens in Motion plan as part of plan revisions. The Georgia Bike Walk Live Summit is coming up, and we need to finalize who is going and if Athens in Motion will take on a sponsorship level. We may not have any updates on people who are killed while walking and rolling in a potential response. And then brief time for staff updates, and Sherelle went ahead and emailed some items that she had been working on. We have Daniel on the line if there's any highlights beyond what we have gone through above, and then any committee organization report backs not covered. And I think and I meant to include I think it just got edited out, but I wanted to include a brief update on Porch Fest and the tabling. So I think I'll just add that real quick. That might have gone. Here. Okay, any other additions or changes to the agenda? Tiny. Ronnie, do you have any way to zoom on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if there's a way to make it bigger. And welcome, Art. We see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Right, if there are no changes to the agenda, I will entertain a motion to approve it.
Make the motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, first. Okay, Randy, then Teresa. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we have an agenda. And Art, I was just letting everyone know it's pretty jam-packed. So apologies if I have to cut off any discussion or questions. Feel free to email them. And next are our minutes from September. We were all here. Great. Wonderful. Had small programs update. We'll hear more about that. Fall tabling events. It's very similar to our current meeting. Some great discussion about people who are walking in, while biking or walking in Athens, and then staff updates. Any corrections to our minutes from September?
You look great.
Yes, I agree.
Nearly a work of art.
They're very extensive minutes, Blaine.
You got the right date on there.
Yes. So I guess I will make a motion to approve our minutes from September because they are so great. Second from Ed. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay. And the minutes carry. So we will move on to housekeeping items, which is our annual meeting in November. So I mentioned this a couple of meetings ago that we usually forego our December meeting, and that is because that meeting would usually be around Christmas or the holidays. And we usually have to postpone the November meeting because it falls on Thanksgiving, but this year it does not. So unless staff is anticipating that they will need a vote from us in December, I am recommending that we just have a meeting in November and for that to serve as our annual meeting. And we will also vote on the work plan. So the annual meeting is where we review the year and I do up a report and you all get a chance to look at it and approve it before I send it off to the mayor and commission. And previously we had done a second report or kind of teased about our work plan, but I'm going to combine that into one document, or at least we'll vote on those things at the same time. So we can go ahead and ship that off to the commission so they know what to expect from us and staff has something right away that they can point to during the year. And it will, the work plan isn't a detailed report of every little thing we're going to do or every little like event we're going to table. It's more so policy and actions that will come forward to the mayor and commission that they can expect to see. Does that sound right, Ronnie?
Correct.
So that's what that is. So what I'm anticipating, like the small programs, items, which you'll hear an update from Randy about that later. And then maybe we'll go ahead and put the bike lane ordinances on there. But if there's anything that you anticipate in your committee work that could be a policy change, or if you're not sure, just ask me or Daniel or Ronnie, we can help you figure out if that needs to go in the work plan. Yes. So I'll open the floor. Any concerns about us having one more meeting this year and having that be our November 28th meeting? Daniel?
I will not be available for the December no matter what, so.
Okay, you're not available in December anyway. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with the, so what day do you want me to schedule it then?
It would be at our usual monthly time, which is a departure from years past where we've had to have it at like the 5th week of November or something.
So November 28th.
That is correct.
All right.
If something comes up, we can do a special call meeting, but for now, we'll have that be our annual meeting. All right, our major item is crosswalk policy update. And this is something that went to policy and projects committee initially. And then Sherelle had spent a lot of time on it. So maybe I will turn it over to Randy to talk about how we got started with that. And Daniel and Ronnie, if you want to chime in at any point, you can. And I will go. And after we talk about the background, I'll pull it up and we can kind of look at it from high level view. I don't know if we'll be able to go over in detail. It's in your inbox. But yeah. So how did this get started, Randy?
How did this get started?
Maybe it's a question for Daniel. Wasn't it, the policy there was an effort to update the policy some years ago. Is that right, Daniel?
Yeah, so there was an effort to do the policy update. I believe it was the original policy was written in 2004. That's the approved policy on record. And then Under Steve Decker, I think 2017, traffic engineering worked with him to update the policy, and it never fully made it all the way through the process. So it's not, that one is not an approved policy. And so we identified the need for updating it and brought that to you guys after the Complete Streets policy was passed. It kind of made its way onto the docket, and yeah, that's kind of the origin story there.
And then from there, several of us on the committee just went out and looked for other cities and what policies they had in place. And what was finally given to Sherelle was kind of the better parts of a couple of different cities. And she ran with it, and she did a really nice job. And put together a comprehensive policy that we can recommend forward.
Yes. Thank you. So you'll see the sections, there's an introduction, crosswalk fundamentals, like what is actually a crosswalk in Georgia. And something I've learned through this process is that jaywalking is not illegal.
I learned that myself just last week.
Yeah, I even kind of slowly say those words because I'm like, is that really true? So the crosswalks help direct people to the safest place to cross. That's what they're used for.
Onus shifts if you're outside the crosswalk.
Yes.
Yes, but you can still cross anywhere. And all this, there's some great history in this document. One of my favorite parts is,
Mark, if you would, please don't go past this spot.
sure, yeah, it's this part, actually, the flow chart.
Good, because I got a problem with it.
What?
Well, it's I think that there should be a yes option on the bottom center square. It doesn't make sense to ask a question that the only answer can be no.
I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, we'll send that over to Sherelle.
Yeah, it's missing an arrow to go back to the green box.
Thank you, Ed.
But I really like the flip chart. So I don't want to sound like I'm harping.
Yes, I was a little scared. Yeah, and as we're looking at this, Daniel and Ronnie, do you want to talk about the cross-department collaboration that has gone on here? Like traffic engineering has looked at this. This is not just one per department. It has been extensively reviewed many times, right?
Yes, and there was a lot of effort internally within the department between traffic engineering, Daniel and Sherelle. And like you said, Sherelle did a wonderful job collaborating with all parties. And we went back and forth with, selection of words. Words means a lot. And we wanted to make sure that we meet the intent of the original draft of this policy, which we appreciate very much. That Daniel can speak more on the details. Sherelle, if she was here, but beyond that, I'll leave it to Daniel to walk us through the details. He has put a lot of effort into this.
Yeah, I don't know how many details we need to walk through. Has everyone had a chance to view kind of the policy, and are there questions about any of the sections?
Are there any questions, any other items that stand out?
I learned a lot. It was great.
Because if it pleases the commission, I would like to take a vote on this today pending the correction that you had mentioned, Ed. So I guess what I will say is I will make a motion to accept the updated crosswalk policy so it can be, accept the updated crosswalk policy with the addition of the yes arrow so it can be presented to the mayor and commission during one of their work sessions coming up. Second?
I'll second that.
So first from me, second from Randy. Any further discussion about this policy? All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, I'm really excited to have another updated
Yeah.
policy,
Yay.
put forth from this group and working with staff. And I really do appreciate Sherelle taking on, taking this under her wing and putting it together so nicely. And I would say it looks even nicer when it's in, when it's not on Google Drive. So, I'm looking forward to this coming before the mayor and commission. Great. Stop sharing that. Our next order of business falls under our major report backs, and it is an update on the bike and pedestrian program, small programs presentation that came before the mayor and commission last week. And Randy has the update for us. And Randy, would you like for me to pull up the presentation?
Yeah, if you would, please. I figured you were busy or Outlook was being Outlook. All right, so as Lauren said, I just wanted to give a quick update as to where we are with the bike and pedestrian improvements, the small programs that we've been talking about a couple of times now, but if you could move on to the second slide, please. The proposal was presented on the 10th to the mayor and commission. Ronnie and Daniel did a great job presenting our information to everyone who attended. It was certainly not a full commission, but most of the individuals were there. I think my own personal opinion, and I haven't been to many of the commission meetings, but mayor and commission meetings, I thought it was pretty positive. There was a good amount of questions. I didn't perceive anything horribly negative. I think it was, a lot of questions regarding a little more information. And so we got to the end of it. Everybody seemed to be okay that we were just going to move forward, and the mayor and commission were told that, once we have a finalized plan, that we'll come back and present that in the future. So Lauren and Trish, you were there also. We did same feeling.
I thought it went really well.
Yeah.
And I think the commissioners who were there were understanding what the objective was. I think they were actually relieved they weren't being asked to vote on it.
So just a quick refresher, we ended up with the 6 programs with the sidewalk gaps, bike lane gaps, ADA improvements, pilot projects, complete streets implementation, and the grant matching funds. So the last E&P meeting, we sat down and kind of discussed how do we want to attack this. It's going to be a lot of work, and we want some successes out of this, as quickly as we can. So ultimately, we decided, if you could go to the next slide, please, that we would initially focus on 3 programs. And that'd start with the sidewalk gaps, the bike lane gaps, and the ADA improvements. And the reasoning behind that is that they're the least controversial overall of the 6. And I think readily recognized by the community overall as being needed. I mean, I don't think anybody can argue that if we've got sidewalk gaps, bike lane gaps, at least from the cyclists anyway, and that there's ample opportunity for ADA improvements. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So what we talked about then is, so how do we want to attack those three? And what we thought we would do is start with the subsequent policy and projects and policy meetings, is look at these three programs and really work hard on the pros and cons of which ones from those three do we want to start first, and really, you know, say, hey, here's what our group and the county is trying to do for the public and improve pedestrian and bike safety. And once we kind of have the order of how we want to attack, then also is really determine cutoffs. Like, how do we want to define what size of a project that we wish to have inside each one of these programs? I mean, it would be kind of foolish to say that, you know, we want to, let's say if there wasn't an Atlanta highway project, that we wanted to have sidewalks the entire length of that transport alley. That we really want to make sure that if we define what size project up front, it'll be a lot easier when we start to pick individuals and identify projects and say, okay, do they meet the criteria that we've put in place? It'll be less subjective at each individual project. In identifying projects, I think there always is some challenge as to whether, no matter which one you pick, half the people are going to like it and half the people aren't going to like it. So if we can make the process as less subjective as possible, better for us.
Really, how would, within the master plan and the rankings there, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, you know, that could be kind of a default as far as identifying, you know, that this was identified as a tier 1, you know, project and it fits within, you know, sidewalk gap or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's certainly another criteria that can be added to as we're looking at the overall process.
I mean, I don't know if we're still going by those tiers, you know, it's like.
We are.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I think some of these gaps are so small that they may not even
Begin to-
show up
Yeah.
on the plan. Like, and Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like some corridors, like just the whole corridor is listed and it doesn't indicate like, oh, there's half of the sidewalk cuts off here or something like that. It's just identified as a section of roadway.
Correct. Yeah. Basically, it's not even every road in Athens. It's just that the Athens in Motion plan is made up of a set of projects. And those projects are from point A to point B, and then they are ranked in that way. So there may be sidewalks in some of them, there may not be. It might be that in between two projects, there's a gap. And there's every other roadway in Athens that is not in the Athens in Motion plan that doesn't currently get included either. And within the first few pages of the Athens in Motion plan, they specifically call out that this plan doesn't replace the need for a sidewalk gap program, and the recommendation on the short-term strategies is to start up the sidewalk gaps.
I like your question though, Craig, because it's like, how does our current plan interface with these smaller programs? And yeah, there's the little items that don't really get taken on as those big projects, like they're not like a
That makes sense.
road.
Kind of a differentiation, yeah.
Yeah. But we're hoping to get some wins, some well, I think we've got a lot of low hanging fruit, but
Right.
to have impact with some smaller projects that can be done in-house. Yeah, Alan.
One thing I was a little unclear of from the presentation was what bucket are we specifically talking about? Like, is this, instead of doing Cherokee Road, we're gonna do this Or is it that bucket specifically? Is it all future buckets? It was a little unclear as to, we want to pivot to this, but pivot it, what are we not doing if we're doing this?
That's a great question. I think, if I can find, I don't know if I have a copy of the original presentation, if it's on.
So, what we inform the public, and this is Ronnie speaking. When we presented to the public in the work session, we also presented a additional slide that included available budgets. We have 2018 money remaining in the bike program. We do have 2023 funding, and we have some money left from the 2011. So any of that money left, if it didn't get used by some earmarked projects, it will be available. But what we're saying is that these projects and their funding will be identified once we have a priority. When we have a list of projects and a priority based on what you guys are recommending in the future, at that point, you would identify from where the money would come. You did mention Cherokee. Cherokee, up to this point, have no construction funding. You, as Athens in Motion, you can prioritize this and say, we should prioritize it and take it forward. The other option is the commissioner could direct through other commissioners and the mayor to identify some of that funding for Cherokee for construction along with TAD. So the remaining is it $6 million, Daniel? That is unidentified or earmarked in the future.
8.3.
8.3, thank you. Is up for, what is next on the priority? And that's what these GAP programs and, those 6 programs, I should say, that we discussed, we're hoping to identify where that funding would go until we update Athens, you guys update Athens in Motion and Mayor and Commission approve it. And at that point, with that approval, would highlight the remaining funding in all SPLOST funding. Where would it go first? So there's multiple tiers to this. It's not really a straightforward answer. I'm sorry, there's no straightforward answer.
But this wouldn't be something like taking away from River Road or something,
No.
which.
No, everything that was earmarked by Mayor and Commission did not
Okay.
change. That's why we did not identify an action item for Mayor and Commission. It was a presentation to let them know this is happening behind the scene. This is what Athens in Motion will be working on with staff moving forward. These are kind of embedded in the Athens in Motion plan, but not identified as projects or priorities. And with the Athens in Motion update, this is something can happen either before or after or concurrent, pretty much, with the Athens in Motion update.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Alan. And Ronnie, Daniel, tell me how this works, because it was the Mayor and Commission who voted to only allocate design funds for Cherokee Road, right? So does it mean that they're the ones who have to take it out of limbo?
So back when this was approved and it was a CDO from our elected officials at that point, and the CDO did not identify construction funding.
So it just
It
didn't
just
identify.
lacked that, and there, at that time, there was anticipation that the TAD may be upcoming, or maybe it was approved. I really don't recall the exact events there. We'll have to search the history there, but it was anticipated that TAD would assist with the construction. That's why there was no funding identified. We are at a time where we should consider, knowing that we have these SPLOST 2023, there's funds in there, we should consider where this project in our priority. Should we push forward to deliver it along Riverbend, Jefferson River Road, and now Cherokee? We also have Barber Street approved, moving into preliminary engineering. But it does need an action item on Mayor and Commission to authorize staff of utilize the money and go to the next phase, which is final design, right-of-way acquisition, and bid award. So yeah, that's all I have. Like I said, you could bring this up among yourselves. This is something could be by the mayor. Ask staff, I believe, to bring recommendation on funding to move this project forward? Or the commissioner himself working with the mayor?
Randy helped me find the slide that Daniel had put together showing funding sources and what's been expensed or encumbered at this point.
Forgive me, could somebody explain CDO to me again? I know I've asked the question.
Commission defined option. Yeah, so that's when the commission gets together and
I knew it was in that ballpark, thank you.
yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
No worries.
Thank you, Lord.
I'll learn it one day.
Ask every time because I'm sure there's going to be people watching this who have no idea. And you have a couple more slides in your presentation, right, Randy?
Just the one more, yeah.
Okay, so I'll pull that back up.
Oh, yeah, and really, that's just looking at. Question here.
Art, did you have a question? Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to, if you're done, I didn't want to interrupt anything. I guess the question, this was a really helpful presentation. Thank you. The question is in communicating things to the public, and I know that that's kind of what this commission is all about in many ways, especially with the tabling events. And I know that there's been a public radio sort of thing about North Avenue input recently, but I'm just wondering, is there a mechanism to get additional public input? I know there's the wiki map. I mean, there are a lot of things. What I'm really thinking about in particular is that my neighborhood, I think Ed probably it gets on the same listserv. In 5 Points, there's now a discussion about, oh, we need more sidewalks and we need this connection and stuff like this. But that's the group that communicates these needs and wishes when they have them. But then a lot of places don't have listservs. A lot of neighborhoods don't have listservs. A lot of neighborhoods don't necessarily listen to public radio. I guess, how do we get that input?
Daniel, do you want to provide some insight on what kind of data you would be looking to collect for these small programs? Would that be helpful, Art?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I mean, I guess that this is our job to say, this is a priority and this is a priority and this is a priority, but it seems like it's really challenging to not leave somebody out who doesn't have a seat at the table right now.
Yeah, I mean, public engagement is one small aspect of what we do. The data we need isn't really the opinions of people on whether or not we should fill in a gap. The data we need is actually like, where are the gaps? What are the sizes? How much would it cost? And then we need to find out from the elected officials and the decision makers through the Athens in Motion Commission, what sorts of recommendations of, procedure, policy, or even just looking at what are the most important values when looking at this data. So if we bring in all of the data that we gather, we still have to do a ranked prioritization. I'm not saying that like talking to people and getting public engagement on sidewalks and bike lanes and stuff is not important, but we have heard a lot of feedback on just how, what is the most important thing that we get public input on. We've actually been criticized for getting too much public input when we were like, hey, we're looking at doing public engagement on Lexington Road, and we want to do some projects. Here's a sidewalk project, here's some bus stop projects. And the individual that one of my coworkers kind of talked to was basically like, look, if you can't figure out that I don't want to have muddy boots while I wait for the bus, like, then we need to change jobs. Like, so this, like, especially with sidewalks and existing infrastructure, it's not really about which of these options do you want, right? It's going to be the same size sidewalk. But as part of that, I do think it's important to capture the values of what we're doing. So if we're going, do we want to break it down by commission district or by census block, or like how do we make this an equitable process, you know, so we just, you know, like if you just start in the center of town and complete all the sidewalk gaps going out, that's not necessarily equitable, right? It does create a much more connected network, but you know, what are those priorities? You know, in that same token, if you go out into the middle of nowhere and find, you know, like a small section of sidewalk between two developments, and you've now connected the sidewalk between the developments, but it's still not really connecting anywhere, even if that is an area that is like more disadvantaged or rural that doesn't have sidewalks, like is that actually accomplishing connectivity? So especially with like such a limited amount of funds, we really want to look at more of the data and the almost like doing kind of a cost benefit analysis on what are the costs, what are the benefits, you know, to the community as a whole.
Thank you. That was helpful.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm going to share the last slide.
Yep. So really, we'll be working on this for many meetings, I'm sure. But so ultimately, we'll try and develop what project priorities we want to have and what we want to present going forward, and then we'll come back to the commission. I certainly welcome anybody that wants to come to the project and policy meetings to participate. And then, I mean, ultimately present this back to Mayor and Commission for approval. There'll be a lot.
Yeah, this should keep us all pretty busy for the next year or so.
Yeah, I'm excited about
More.
it.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm excited to give some wins to regular people using our roadways, and also to the commissioners in their districts too. I know that they get a lot of calls from constituents about sidewalk gaps and bike lane gaps and holes in the middle of the sidewalk. So I'm sure they'll be happy to scratch those off the list. And then, yes, Daniel.
Well, I was just going to mention, I think something that would be helpful to discuss is kind of within those first three that we're going to do we have a certain order that we want to do them in? Like, do we start with sidewalks, which are kind of like sidewalk gaps, or do we start with ADA gaps? And so the difference there is the ADA, not gaps, but ADA improvements. That's more fixing our existing network, whereas the sidewalk gaps themselves are connecting our existing network. And then bike lane gaps are connecting the existing network of bicycles. And so some of these things we can do concurrently, but in terms of like having a meeting where we're really going to be discussing what is the data, what's the priority, like let's look at the data, let's figure out what actually constitutes a gap or not, whether it's a length thing or a difficulty, you know, topography, all those kinds of things. What is ultimately going to be our kind of approach towards this?
Yeah, certainly.
So yeah, I guess my question is, do y'all want to start with sidewalk gaps?
That's what we all had.
Yeah, I think we'll be discussing that at the next policy and at our projects and policy meeting.
I thought we were going to discuss it here so that people could decide which policy projects meeting they wanted to go to. Sorry.
No, I was just looking to give an update at today's meeting.
Gotcha.
Could I just ask one other question for Daniel, probably? And that's in some places, a multi-use path solves both, right? A bicycle and pedestrian, but is that a desired solution, or is that sort of a compromise that isn't perfect for either?
I would say that if there is, so really the way we're looking at the gaps is existing infrastructure, right? So if we have so here's a really great example of a multi-use gap, a multi-use path gap. Riverbend Road, once we finish constructing Riverbend Road multi-use path, where it dead ends into College Station Road, that goes from multi-use path to sidewalk and bike lane. But really, the like 600 feet down the road is a greenway crossing. So like that could be considered a gap, you know, if it's within the range, and that could be an option. Now, if we're talking like most of what we're talking about for bike lane gaps is really looking at where the bike lanes kind of like, we'll use Oglethorpe as the example because there's a few spots along there with it. They start and stop as you approach turn lanes and stuff because they didn't widen the road when they were repaving and repainting. So they added in bike lanes where they could, but they didn't do any widening. So this could potentially either be widening or adding in just safer facilities in those areas where the bikes aren't really accommodated at the moment.
And I think what's important too is that this overall program, we really have a limited amount of funds. And we're really trying to look at what can we accomplish the most gas can be filled with the dollars that we have. So rather than have one great project, if we can do a whole bunch of small ones and impact more areas and more people, is really what we're looking for.
Yeah, he has the small projects.
Right, small projects, yeah.
Stuff. Bigger stuff would be the big buckets. Yeah. Right. Any other questions about bike and pedestrian programs? So I will just mention that Flagpole did pick this up this week, and Ronnie had a nice quote in there that I really like, that we are aware of local needs, smaller projects that can be completed much faster than large projects. And Daniel also got a quote in there. So the news media is definitely picking up on this, following along. We appreciate that, getting that information out there to public. All right. Great. And as I said, this will come forth as part of our work plan for 2024. Next, some updates from the Ad Hoc Plan Revision Committee. The first is that we have soft launched the wiki map. So this is available and in use. I think you guys all know this, but what happens when you go to the map is you type in your email address, and this is what you will use going forward to interact with the map. The first time anyone uses the map, they will get some survey questions, which will not come back again when you go back and revisit the map. So people don't have to have all their answers right now. The reason why I say this is in soft launch is that ultimately we do want to have feature this link on ACC.gov website and maybe push it a little bit harder. But right now we're saving that effort. Please use it. You are welcome to share it with a couple of people, but just know we're going to have a bigger, more strategic push down the road. And that we will want to have this out and about, like while we're tabling, and we will help people use this tool. So we'll be on the ground. This isn't just going to be only get information from people who have a nice computer and can interact with this map. We do hope to assist people with this in a series of meetings. We just don't have a plan for that now, but it is launched. And people will probably remember some version of this from when the county and Tool and the original Athens in Motion Committee was working on the plan, because there was a version of this available. What's new with this wiki map is you get to include not just places you do bike, walk, or roll, or places you want to bike, walk, or roll, but you can also include crashes or near misses. And I think that this is great. Who hasn't seen a Facebook post or something on Reddit or heard something about a neighbor's kid who almost got hit, or who was hit by a vehicle while they were biking or walking, and then they didn't call police because they were like, well, I walked away. So I think that there's a lot of crashes or almost crashes that are happening that we have no data about.
Lauren,
Yes.
I was just gonna add in that we did get it. I talked to the PIO office. It is now up on the website.
Great.
If you go to the website, it says provide comments using the interactive map as a green button there on the side. So we can start doing a push if we want. And
I don't know where, it's Athens and Ocean is the same.
yeah. So
It's probably not the commission
this is-
page.
no.
Probably.
Yep.
I'll find it.
And it's that green button right there that's populating.
Oh, yes. Ta-da.
Oh, that's so sweet. I see a Facebook post in our future.
Yeah, so, do we want to like have a sort of press release or something?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
good idea.
You talked about using this at tabling opportunities to avoid merely getting input from the affluent. But given that once you fill out the questionnaire, it never shows up on that browser again, are you happy not getting the survey information from people down the road? Or do we have an approach where we can purge that information and let a stranger at it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we have to refresh it every time.
Okay.
And we basically did a test run of this at Porch Fest. And we had at least one person fill it out. But also ideally at these events, we'll have like a little card with a QR code on it so people can take it home and fill it out later, or we'll have a QR code pulled up and they can just shoot it with their phone and do it later, or they can do it with us now. But that's great that it's up. And thank you for your question about that. I'm very, very happy about this.
We'll say that when did a class last week, and just when you start talking to people about dangerous parts of town, this is a really great resource to point people to, because they'll inevitably have questions about another part of town they're thinking of. You don't have to go into the details. You can give them this, and then county can get some data out of it.
Yeah, I love that. I could see this, maybe an approach to our tabling can be like, come talk to me about your walking and biking around Athens, and we maybe together work on it with the person, because they'll be like, oh, I don't know about the map, but man, I'm just trying to get to work from here to here. I'm like, okay, come on, let's go. Let's talk about that. And we can put it in for them too. Or if they do feel confident about putting it in themselves, they can do it that way. So this is all kind of coming together. Eventually we'll do some tabling, and we'll want to work with our elected officials and want to partner with us maybe at some town halls. And right now we don't have a sunset date on when this is going to close. I think it's just going to be open for quite a while. But Daniel, thank you for getting this. I know there were some last things that you had to get together, and you made it happen ahead of Porch Fest so we could do a test drive of that, and I do appreciate that. And also the ad hoc committee who was online to provide feedback about the survey questions especially. So very exciting. One more update from the ad hoc plan revision committee is that we have made some changes to the goals, some slight changes, and we did vote to approve those. So I did want to bring this forth to the full commission. So our original goals in the plan are as listed. This is a screenshot from table 1.1, and that is connectivity, equity, more users, education, and implementation. And we have modified that slightly to be connectivity and equity, which are the same. We've added in safety, added in encouragement. Sorry, I know this is tiny, which combines education and more users. And then there's implementation. So again, it's connectivity, equity, safety, encouragement, and implementation. And we're going to talk about a little bit different language besides saying goals and objectives here, but that's coming down the road. However, I did want to bring this forth to the full commission and let you know and have maybe a brief discussion about that change before we potentially make a vote to accept those goals. So I will open the floor for discussion.
I'll start by just saying that this was a real thoughtful discussion, for those of you who are not there. I feel quite good about these changes. I think they make it much more clear what it is they're doing. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve these changes to the goals for the revision to the Athens in motion plan.
Teresa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? All right, all those in favor of updating the goals of the Athens in Motion Plan to connectivity, equity, safety, encouragement, which is education of more users and implementation, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Right. Moving forward there. Thank you. Next is the Georgia Bike Walk Live Summit. We talked about this last month. And I believe we've finalized the members who are attending, one, and determine if we want to sponsor the event in any way, one, and also what level. So starters, Daniel, do you have that list of people who said they were going?
Not on hand.
Okay.
It's in my email. But
Does everyone remember who said, does everyone who said they were going remember that?
Yeah, I mean, I do it for me, but my schedule's changed and I can actually go. I asked for just one day, but I think I can go more than one day now. If you haven't bought the tickets, Daniel.
nope. I think the big question is, talking to seeing if you guys what level y'all want to sponsor at, and they can add in a certain number of registration tickets.
That
But I think they were willing to work with ACC. They talked to Mayor Gertz, and Mayor Gertz is ACC is sponsoring this summit, and I don't know how much, but it was it got us 12 registrations for ACC staff. So y'all could do a similar thing where Athens in Motion Commission can sponsor, and they will add in some registrations based on the level that y'all choose. But it's he said it's not locked in at what's shown here, just for y'all to know.
Okay.
Who gets the socks?
All right. So maybe the first question is there an interest in having some level of sponsorship?
We should.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if this needs to be two separate votes, but maybe we can, maybe we'll go ahead and talk about sponsorship levels.
Is there a recommendation?
Yeah, Daniel, how much money do we have? How much? It's not like allocated.
Yeah, I think as far as I know, we have 12,500. But I'm trying to think if we may have paid for a couple things. So maybe down. I mean, the worst case scenario, if the payment for the wiki map comes out of this year's funds, that's 3,500. That brings it down to $9,000 left. And then if we used some of that already, maybe a few hundred, but we could just say 8,500 is maybe what y'all have currently to use by the end of June.
So we tend to spend the money on is, our promotional items, the reflective vests, lights. We had spent some money on, getting support for our materials, graphics design and whatnot. So,
I have a question. So you are planning to go? Is that
There
correct?
was like five or six of us, I think that said,
How many people?
like 5 or 6, I feel like that said they would be interested in going for the,
Okay.
I just said I could only go for one day,
What
but
is,
several.
what's the entry fee for per person?
Don't worry about that. Just, do y'all want to sponsor at $1,000 or $500 or more?
Well, either 500 or 1,000 because we want to have our logo prominently placed, don't we?
Well,
I guess, yeah.
You want the socks?
I'm sure the socks are great.
But it's just 250 gets you one registration, 500 gets you one registration, and then some socks and stuff. But you do get a better placement with your logo, $500. So, I don't know, I mean,
You have to go at least 500, right, to get our logo.
yeah,
On
the
the
500
that
would
are
be
being
like the
distributed.
minimum,
Have that new logo and
yeah.
share it. Right?
Okay, so
What's it, I mean, what's it, what's the money going to? Like what, I mean, Scott, maybe you have an opinion
for
on
the bronze, we get mentioned at the closing remarks. For the silver, we get mentioned during the keynote plenary session and closing remarks.
As a fundraiser for Georgia Bikes, is that what?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Bikes has a contract with GDOT to do this summit every year. I'm assuming you're just helping pay some of the costs of it because they got to rent the graduate and do some additional programming. We're going to be doing some programming alongside on Friday. I think Daniel will be back by then. So.
And the way that we typically have to do our sponsorship within ACC, even with your commission. So, for instance, Ed, you might know actually, ORGC sponsored this event and they are using their sponsorship to like pay for shirts or something. Like it has to be a specific use that it goes towards. So, you know, that's
right. I think that's right.
yeah, we'll figure those details out on the back end, but do y'all want to do 500 or 1,000? It seems like y'all probably don't want to do 2,500, right?
Yeah, it's a bit much.
Okay. So I would say, yeah, just don't even worry about the differences between those two things. Just think about like what you would like to contribute towards it.
So, to put this out there, the Bike Walk Live Summit is not in Athens every year. And we are as far as I know, we're still the state's only permanent seated bike pedestrian commission. So we're kind of a big deal.
Good way to get that word out, you know,
Yeah.
encourage other municipalities to consider something, yeah.
Yeah. So I just have a question. Would there be any like public, finger wagging if we were to sponsor at a higher level or?
You mean 1,000 versus 500?
Yes.
Well, so, I mean, hearing that ACC Gov is also helping with the event, I think that kind of clears things for us. I don't want to blow through our entire budget, especially because we'll really be among other bike ped people in the state versus the public. So this will be like sharing of ideas and working together to try and make the state overall better and figure out what's working, what's not.
Well, maybe 500 is the appropriate amount this time. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything. What do you think?
I think that's an appropriate amount.
I mean, we don't want to be like cheapskates or anything.
I think you want to spend more than the mayor, so.
Yeah, we don't want to.
We don't want to be cute, we want to be good stewards of the money we have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
500 sounds appropriate to me.
Sounds good.
Yeah, would someone like to make a motion to sponsor
I'll make a
the,
motion sponsored for 500.
okay, at the bronze level?
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We will sponsor the BIPOC Live Summit at the $500 level. And Daniel, you'll let us know if there's anything else we need to do as far as like registrations go.
No, I'm returning 2 days before the event. Working out with Ronnie and staff.
I'm gonna have to talk to Justin from Georgia Bikes this week about my registration, because I have not registered yet, so I can talk to him about that too.
Okay. Daniel, does that mean Ronnie's taking care of our registrations?
I am writing an email to John right now, and I'm CCing Ronnie. I'll put you on there, Lauren.
Okay.
And I will also add Julia, who can do the money moving. And
Okay, yes, because I can't move any money.
yeah,
Do not have access to that.
as far as registration goes, Ronnie, also, if I was not able to register people using our ACC ones yet, so I won't be able to do that. So if you could also take care of that, that would be great.
All right.
All right, well, thank y'all. I know this is a lot on your plate, so appreciate you. Okay, great. We are moving right along. Next on the agenda is a quick update from our fall tabling activities. So I will turn it over to the Education and Communication Committee for that, Julie and Chris.
Yeah, so we did Porch Fest on Saturday. We didn't have a ton of people who participated. I think Lauren, like you mentioned, maybe 1% did the wiki map. But Daniel did bring a huge printout of North Ave.
It was a hit.
Oh my gosh.
It was a hit.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't even know how long. It must have taken up maybe 3 or 4 of these tables where folks could come up and take sticky notes and kind of let us know what specific improvements they'd like to see along North, and they could place it where they kind of wanted to see some change. And there were a lot of people who stopped and had some pretty in-depth discussions about the North Ave improvement plan, and had a lot of great feedback as to how they felt like North could be enhanced. So that was really great. But yeah, anything to add, Teresa?
We gave out a bunch of vests and people like those, and Buster, the safety dog, looked really cute in his little red vest.
Yeah, we brought our dog. If anyone's curious, the children's vests are perfect for a 60-pound dog.
Yeah, no, it was a good event, and I think every time we do one of these things, we get more comfortable, and we're faster at setting them up and taking things down. So it's all good. Oh, and the big news is that all of the tabling stuff is no longer in my garage. It's at Daniel's new office in its own cute little closet.
That's exciting.
Love that.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, Daniel, are y'all officially moved in or partially moved in?
Sure. I have boxes moved in. Some offices are more completed than others. It's generally a big open space, and once we get some money at the end of the fiscal year, we might be able to furnish it. But until then, we are taking donations of furniture, and if anybody has any cool rugs, that's fine too.
I got some ugly floor lamps. You want them?
Bring them on over.
Dang, I want to see your cast offs. Love a good floor lamp. Okay, well, thank you guys for tabling. And I know Art, you came by, and Randy, you were there. I know Brendan, who's been in some of our committees, was there.
I think Alan, you came by.
Yeah, we saw Alan because he just got back from his trip.
Right.
Yeah.
And Buster was there.
Buster, the,
Love Buster.
yeah, he's a good dog. But yeah, if anybody has suggestions moving forward as to good tabling opportunities or like outreach opportunities, definitely keep Teresa and I in the loop because I thought it was a great time. And I feel like, you know, like you were saying, we're getting more comfortable and it's easier to navigate conversations with folks. So
That's, that concludes our fall tabling. Yeah, so we'll probably do more stuff in spring, like Clarke County School District Family Day. Again, that was a great event. And then probably a lot of stuff related to the plan revision. So we'll need a lot of,
Hopefully we can do some town halls with commissions.
yeah, so we'll need a lot of hands on deck because it's going to be quite a bit of outreach there. And again, hopefully this isn't just us putting together our own event, but we're tacking on to existing events.
Lauren, just to rewind a bit, I did find that email. We have originally the message was we have 3 people who would like to do the full registrations, 1 person who would like a day pass, 1 other person who's a tentative yes, and another who is a tentative for a day pass. So I believe that 1 person who would like a day pass is now a full registration, correct?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we got 4 people.
I can ask my wife on that.
And
Maybe I should ask my wife. I'll confirm.
then
Yeah, Daniel, will you send an
Perfect.
email to Craig's wife?
and then I have 2 people who were tentative yes and tentative day pass. So I don't know if you want to go through and just get a final count for John.
Yes, I'm gonna ask you all individually if you're going or not. Okay, Craig, you're full pass. Alan,
Full pass, please.
full pass for Alan.
Not available.
Not available. Full pass for Lauren.
I have to pass on the pass.
Okay, Teresa's passing on the pass.
I'll do full pass.
Full pass for Randy.
Pass in the pass.
Passing on the pass. Julie.
not go.
Cannot go. Okay. That, and Art,
Out of town, sorry.
out of town. Okay.
So final list is what?
Is it 4?
1, 2,
1, 2, 3, 4.
3.
Yeah.
Can you give me the names?
Yes, it's Craig, Alan, Lauren, Randy, Ed. Not Ed. Sorry, Ed. I'm trying to push it.
And Lauren. Okay, so 4 passes.
And hopefully we'll have some kind of report back to you all. Probably put together a presentation or something, 5 takeaways. I like to do those. All right. Moving on. We're actually ahead of schedule.
What?
Calm down.
We need to do something about that.
Deep breath. And we had talked last meeting about a response to people who are killed while walking and rolling. And I know there have been some conversations, but I don't know if we have anything that we're ready to share to the commission. Yeah, is that right, Daniel?
For what now?
For people who are killed while walking and rolling. This was,
In response to that light.
yeah, response license. Teresa?
Yeah, I think I sent around a clip from the flagpole. There was a letter that someone sent in regarding the gentleman who was killed. Tallahassee, I believe.
Yes.
And that really got to me, you know, I mean, you hear about somebody who gets killed and you don't really, think about them so much as a human being, but then this person apparently, had a big impact on this community, well loved, and so that really affected me. So anyway, if you get a chance to read it, I encourage you to do so.
Yeah. Let's see it.
I bet it was good art.
Yeah, as far as I spoke with Ronnie and Steven, and yeah, we all agreed that it's not really something that should come from staff. It's something that or even maybe Athens in Motion Commission, really the kind of responsibilities placed upon Athens in Motion Commission is implementation of and development of the Athens in Motion plan. If if this was going to come from someone in terms of like talking to the DA's office about like getting a little more data and stuff, I believe that the more appropriate person would be like an ACC commissioner, mayor, commissioner, any of those individuals would be much more appropriate to bring that kind of question. Ronnie, did I miss anything there?
No, Daniel, thank you.
So Daniel, am I hearing that you're thinking that for those on the Athens in Motion Commission that want to have some action, that they should, as citizens, talk to their commissioner about it? Is that what I'm hearing?
You can do whatever you want as citizens. I would not recommend as a body doing any sort of formal recommendation or letter.
That's what I was hearing.
Thank you, Daniel.
You're welcome.
So that's where we are with that.
Sort of tangential, I don't know how, but like reading that article, and they're doing all that work right now on that section of, near that section of Tallahassee, I guess. Is there a way to memorialize Jim Jones, in that way? That could be a nice thing,
Yeah. And we officially can't, or could we do that? We just can't interact with the DA's office in an official capacity.
Yeah. Like some sort of plaque or something, or a way to name, bridges get named after random.
Is that Dexter Fisher's area?
I think so.
They're putting in a multi-use, I think that's,
Yeah.
it looks like the sections where they're putting in that multi-use part of Tallahassee, it's interesting. How do we ribbon cut, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's something that would probably be worth mentioning to the mayor. Ronnie, do you know when the ribbon cutting is for the bridge there?
So we did throw the idea in front of the SPLOST office, who has often coordinated ribbon cutting activities. I haven't seen a response back, and while I have a lot on our plate to deliver, this is one thing I haven't checked back with SPLOST office on. I will check again because we are coming to a completion of this project very soon.
Oh.
So we'll identify if there is a ribbon cutting event for it. And unfortunately, with transportation projects that are online, meaning they're on an active roadway, right? We shift the road, we make improvements, and it's not a sudden change. So we can't stop traffic and then be, a ribbon cutting event and then open to traffic. So we'll see how can we coordinate this best if that's the option we're gonna move forward with, and to have a ribbon cutting.
And we could do a ribbon cutting potentially on the multi-use path section. We've done a lot of greenway things like that, so that could be a good thing, especially highlighting the grant work that was done. I think I got some assistance from the grants committee on the extra $750,000 that went towards building out that multi-use path. And yeah, I think ultimately regarding like plaque or something, I believe the process for that would be probably similar to the Athens or the leisure services process that they currently do for like memorial benches. They could potentially do something similar in terms of plaque. That usually comes from the family though, and not like a commission. Now, there have been a couple instances where like the Greenway Commission, I believe they donated for a bench in memory of Neesmith, Commissioner Neesmith. Yeah. So, it's not unprecedented in terms of like a naming of like either trail or roadway
Section,
section that would probably have to go through the name change policy. There's a policy for parks and roads that requires a certain amount of public I believe there's some public engagement. It goes before mayor and commission. There is a certain amount of time since their passing that it must happen. Like it can't be immediately after. I believe it's within like a few years. And I believe it has to, there's a petition, and potentially that usually comes from family members as well, I believe.
All right, so right now we'll keep our ears out about ribbon cutting for the bridge.
Now,
And then,
one last thing. Typically families do put out like white bicycles for like kind of in memory of the individual.
Yeah.
So not sure if that's something that the family plans on doing, but you know, that is usually for pedestrian deaths, it's usually white shoes, like shoes that are painted white, and bikes are usually painted white as well. So just as a,
I mean, it'd certainly be appropriate to have the family kind of take the initiative on anything that would be done. Does anyone have contact? I mean, do they know that that's an option? Like, this person that wrote this article, it's hard to tell the connection that they had with Mr. Jones, but, and it almost sounds like they had an axe to grind with the DA, which.
yeah, I'm not sure.
If anyone has any connection with the family, yeah.
No. Yeah, there might be someone I can ask. Okay, moving on to staff updates. Did Todd send anything along?
I have no idea. I have not been checking my email today. I don't believe so. I wonder if I neglected to include him.
You left out
on the list there.
If you left out off Todd, I will be very sad. It's like my favorite part.
He's probably hoping no one noticed.
He loves these as well.
Sorry.
We'll go ahead and skip forward to Sherelle's update, and I'll go ahead and text him just to see if I forgot to add him.
Yeah. I mean, that's the part of our meetings that gets reshared on Reddit. It's Todd's update.
I know. So many people are going to be disappointed. I'm going to have pitchforks coming after me.
Yeah. Yes, I'll share my screen. So Sherelle did email an update of what she's been working on. So you can take a look at that more closely. But again, North Avenue, already 140 survey responses collected. And I know, Teresa, did you go to one of these?
Yeah, I went to, I've been to North Ave. Well, actually 3 if you count our tabling thing.
Nice.
So I went to Sherelle's open house at one of the schools. I can't remember the name of the school. That was the second event she had. And yeah, it was pretty well attended. There were a lot of people there, and Commissioners Link and Thornton were both there. Great. And there were some people who had very strong feelings. And then a lot of people who had already known about the project. A lot of people who had actually filled out the survey online in advance of being there. So it was kind of nice to have them there. And people were putting sticky notes all over. And it was a good event. And whoever decided to bring White Tiger food, I thank you. Good. And then we went to the homeless congregation point on North Avenue, Daniel and I did the other day. And we spoke with a number of individuals who use the services there. And, some of them had some some good things to share with us and some ideas and observations and, you know, but I mean, a lot of it was pretty tough going, I have to say, you know. I mean, people want to talk about, you know, everything and, you know, you have to let them talk. I mean, so it was kind of hard. I'm not used to that sort of thing. So, but we got some good information. And it was important that we, you know, spoke to those folks because they're the ones who are most impacted.
Yeah.
Of what we're doing.
Yes. Well, thank you for being there, Teresa.
And the name of the place is the Homeless Day Service Center, run by Advantage. So they have a few different services in that building, but yeah, we just sat outside, and we also had a landscape architecture class who was interested in the project. They had done kind of their own walk audit up and down the corridor, and they came by and helped us engage with the people who were there looking for services.
Great. Yeah, thank y'all for having these events. I know it's additional work. Glad that you did a good turnout. And beyond the North Avenue items, it seems like a neighborhood traffic management program is now residential traffic management. Notice that. Compiling additional prioritization criteria. And then Sherelle was wondering if we wanted to review the local road safety plan. And is Daniel and Ronnie, do you have a sense, is that just like for our information, or would that kind of thing, would it be helpful for us to approve it to show support for that? Or is it just like an FYI? And I did not get a chance to ask Sherelle that.
Ronnie, do you have thoughts?
Initial thoughts are yes. For sure, review, give your feedback. I'm not sure what's the next level of approval, and I know it is. I'm not sure how it meshes with the Safe Streets for All efforts. I'll leave it to Daniel and Sherelle.
Completely separate from the Safe Streets for All efforts. So the local road safety plan started about just over a year ago as a push from FHWA and GDOT working together to do these kind of 2-day workshops, one and 2-day workshops, where cities could go and they give us the template, they give us all the tools we need, and we kind of put together a safety plan. We ended up doing a pretty comprehensive approach towards our engagement with, we had a few events. I believe one was at the library, and we had some stakeholder events. I believe Athens in Motion Commission was there as stakeholders.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it would be helpful to have an official vote kind of recommending the adoption of the plan. You know, just or maybe a letter of support. I'm not sure exactly what would be required.
Okay.
Probably a letter.
All right, we don't have to figure this out today, but maybe I will ask Sherelle what she thinks would be most helpful, so that way we can approve it at our November meeting. So it is in hand in time for the work session in January, whatever that needs to be, whatever would, you know, make the most sense and assist with the adoption of this by the full commission. So I'll ask Sherelle on that. Safe Streets for All, RFP has been extended. Reconnecting communities and neighborhoods. Looks like we have support from all the elected officials, and some of you helped with the grant application. Was that you, Teresa?
I don't know if I was.
I believe it was Art.
Okay, it was Art.
Jake Moss.
And Jake. So thank y'all.
Is that right, Art?
That we that we helped with get the final thing together?
Yeah, the final edits on the writing the applications. Oh, and also the support letter, which I think
Yeah,
Lauren was
I
due.
looked at all of it, but
Yeah.
but our timing didn't mesh right, so
Right.
I didn't actually contribute anything useful. I just added noise to the conversation. Next time.
I'm sure it was pleasant noise.
Yes.
I'm sorry about it.
Okay, see you, Craig. Okay, and then there's Safe Routes to Schools, which is going to go, there's a report that's going to go forward to the manager's office, and I it got edited out here, but Sherelle was asking if we wanted to take a look, and I said that we do. There was technical standards work session. I don't know much about that one. And then the.
You can give an update on that if you want.
Go ahead.
Ronnie could probably give an update on technical standards and what that means.
Was that, what is that? What is a work session in October?
No, it would be in November.
Oh, okay.
It was originally in October. I think it's here or there, but yes, we have a work session scheduled to present to elected officials some changes to our technical standards. This is the document that guides our development community on how to build roads, new roads.
Oh, right, for the developers.
Yes.
For the developers.
And also what we have incorporated is immediate needs into the document and the commitment moving forward. If you see something in there that, you know, you would like to enhance, add more, specific to bike and pet safety. These items, we felt like we've added the most urgent needs now, but we plan to visit this document more often. The last that this document was approved was in 2009, Commission.
Okay, it's been a while.
Here we are. We would like to get some immediate needs addressed. And then moving into the future, we want to update as the world progresses to, you know, different active transportation modes. And so we would be compatible with that. So that's what we will be presenting to Mayor and Commission, which will follow an agenda item to confirm that these are the new technical standards and approve those moving forward. This would be also a work in progress for you guys to throw some ideas to Daniel, discuss among each other. I want to, on the, is it safe routes to school? So when staff develop or put together a report with, we've identified these things, we're gonna, you know, we've addressed those things, and then these are the remaining items we did not address. So typically this process can be shared with you guys as a draft. You can review it and see what we've done, the great things we've done, maybe things you can educate us on that you've noticed in the area. But really to keep things clean between communication internally within Athens in Motion and staff, and then with the manager's office. We send the memo and the report to the manager's office. We have comments, sometimes it comes back with, hey, next steps are not clear, we want more, we want less. So if there is no comments in a couple of weeks down the road, that's a final memo. Sometimes we come back with edited memo, so we don't want to say a revised memo and this and that. So it would be like in a draft, it's not finalized. And sometimes those memos make it to elected officials. That's when we will share that memo with you along with the report. Now, the report itself, you're welcome to view it and we can share that with you. You may think that there is a project that is important to you in that report that you want to elevate it to be a recommended project, specifically one or all of them. It's up to you. I mean, that's what you're commissioned to do, is to bring projects to us. You may want to incorporate it into the GAPS programs that you were talking about. But that's where I believe there was some communication. When do we present to Athens in Motion?
Yes.
Hopefully that provides some clarity.
Okay, so this is something that we can take a look at and it can inform, along with the plan, some directions we want to take as far as projects go.
Correct. The report itself, currently, I call it draft, even though it's probably final. But it's draft. You're welcome to take a look at it. The memo, while it's crafted and almost ready, we want Lane to see it, the manager's office to see it, and they think that we're lacking some information. We'll put some information in there, and then once it's final, it can be circulated to you guys.
Yeah, I think we're interested in taking a look at that, I would say.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, thank you, Ronnie.
Sure.
And then crosswalk policy is gonna come before the mayor and commission at the January work session. Daniel, do you have any highlights from your activities that you want to share with the commission?
Well, I'll just go ahead and rewind real quick to Todd's update. I got a text version. He didn't receive the invite, but he has a haircut. So,
How could you, Daniel? How could you?
I know. The Cars Creek is still coming along. They are pouring walls and bridge abutments. Trail concrete should come very soon. That's about it.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, that'll be exciting. Can you show the thing that you just had up again?
Mhm.
Thank you. For our update, I'm on vacation for the next 3 weeks. Ronnie will be your point of contact if there's a committee meeting that needs to happen and you need to like reserve the conference room downstairs. You can just reach out to Ronnie, he'll get that taken care of. And Ronnie, just typically we record those meetings for reference, but we do not live stream them. So that's just how that's going along. North Avenue stuff is coming along. There's not much there. We're still doing all of those things except the preliminary public engagement is ending soon. I believe tomorrow's the last day. If you haven't filled out the survey, get in there, get in the comments. I believe the Prince Avenue project was meeting.
Oh, sorry, Daniel. Can I solicit some feedback from the commission on Spanish translation for the Athens, for North Avenue survey? You gotten any feedback that, hey, this would be nice if we had it in Spanish? And how many of those inquiries?
You know, I haven't heard from anybody.
Okay.
Now, I haven't noticed anybody who's been struggling to figure out what's going on. That doesn't mean they're not there.
Sure. Thank you. Just a question. Sorry, Daniel. Go ahead.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't have any updates on any of the projects that are currently showing on the screen. And yeah, I don't have any updates on any of these either, I believe. So, Ronnie, I don't know if there's anything else you want to touch on with any of the projects that we have shown. We talked about Tallahassee Road, multi-use path. Yeah.
If I may, Daniel, on River Bend, we're getting close to a major milestone, which is the preliminary engineering and right-of-way authorization approval by mayor and commission. At this milestone, a couple of things happen. We don't typically go to mayor and commission with a work session. We're contemplating to go to them or not. SPLOST office does take projects to mayor and commission at this milestone. We have not in our department, but we're contemplating if we should or not. I mean, we want to follow one process. The other item is that UGA is heavily impacted. I mean, not that we're taking a lot of land, but most of the property impacted is UGA's. We're looking at a public meeting sometime in December. Followed by a mayor and commission agenda item. Believe Athens in Motion Commission has voted recommending a concept that was later become that concept that was not approved. A CBO was approved.
Right.
And a multi-use path with 2 segments moved forward into design. Just as a reminder. So if you see something, that's, we're working on that behind the scenes. Nothing is confirmed at this point. We're just contemplating ideas, and we understand it's around the holidays, so we don't want people to miss out on an opportunity to voice an opinion or be at a public meeting. Now, this public meeting is the intent of it is to invite impacted property owners to the meeting, like their contact information, give them update on the project. It is not intended to get survey and feedback from the public on what they want to see. It's done early on, and later approved as a commission defined option. But everything else was still as is. Daniel, thank you. Yes.
Could I chime in with a question for Ronnie, please?
Of course.
Yeah, Ronnie, so following up on the previous, the earlier discussions about connectivity, and I think it was Daniel that mentioned the proximity of the Riverbend Road multi-use path to the Greenway that at the commuter parking lot. I feel like, I don't know, I doubt that this is in the plan, but I feel like it's a real opportunity if it could be modified to have some stretch that would be a logical and safe stretch to get people from the Greenway, where there's a traffic signal crossing it over to the parking lot, into a multi-use path that would lead to Riverbend Road multi-use path. That would really just connect so many things together.
Yeah, and that'll have to be a future project. I tried getting that
Okay.
when I first came
Okay.
aboard.
Yeah, I figured that it was a little bit of a stretch, but I thought
Nevertheless, as a body, you can always recommend adding something. But keep in mind, you're creating also a process where you want to prioritize those gaps. So while I don't want to set precedents for something, you may want to think which way you want to present gaps to elected officials, to staff or to elected officials. Now, staff may bring things to you and ideas, and we can exchange ideas. And I am definitely in support, and I do see that there is a gap. Once this project is done, it's going to create a gap. Is it a dangerous gap? Is it a safe gap? Meaning, can somebody navigate it and have less points of conflict? That's the criteria we need to look and consider for not just that gap, but other gaps we have in town. Which one will get that very limited funding, right? So again, I don't want to say this is not an important one. Daniel brought this one up like 2 years ago. And we emphasized that a CDO really, while it's very specific, sometimes it's vague. Meaning it's specific, we have a start and an end, but we can't just add to it. We will have to go back to Mayor and Commission and ask, and also justify why. Right now, I don't have the why, except that it's a gap. I don't have the criteria that can support. This is the most important gap, and we're missing out on an opportunity. Let's go ahead and do it. It's an expensive gap.
Right.
Right.
So,
Well, I hope that maybe Ed should, I don't know, Ed, if people have brought this up in the Greenway Commission or not, but it sure would expand the Greenway to that part of town and eventually over to Millage too.
I'm not aware of that having come up, but and I'm not particularly familiar with the path on Riverbend that we're referring to. I assume that's where we're still talking, right?
Yeah, there isn't one. It's just
Yeah.
mud. There's mud on the shoes right now on Riverbend. But it's basically going from College Station all the way eventually, I understand, to Millage, which is a huge need. But there's just a whole bunch of university business down in that area.
Sure. I would be happy to bring that up to the Greenway Commission.
Yeah.
But just bear in mind the Greenway currently officially closes to all traffic at sunset.
Right. Well, it's the right-hand crosswalk on College Station that Daniel's showing down to right, that stretch on the southbound side of the road that's highlighted, that would connect right into the Riverbend the planned Riverbend multi-use path. It would just make it easy to get from the Greenway, easy without any conflicts with cars, all the way over to Millage Road eventually from the Greenway.
Oh, yeah, I definitely see the value.
Yeah.
And just to mention to Ed, so like while the Greenway itself, where it is in easement, is closed at night, we do not close our facilities along roadways. So for instance, that section of the Greenway right there along North Oconee Access Road is not considered closed. This would be essentially same with Willow Street Greenway, right? It's essentially a sidewalk. So this would I've mentioned it a few times. I don't know that they understood the connectivity benefits, but the connectivity this would bring would essentially allow us to connect from Greenway down to the botanical gardens along the Riverbend Road without any cost to the OR or the leisure services. Now there is going to be a gap in that based on the way that the commission defined option was passed. There's actually a gap between Riverbend Parkway and I believe it is Lake something.
Lakeside Drive.
Yeah, Lakeside Drive. So there is some missing funding from Lakeside Drive up to Riverbend Parkway. So if I have talked to Alex and Leisure Services in general about the benefits of having the Greenway actually go route along Riverbend Road in terms of a connectivity standpoint, and it would achieve their goal of getting the ability to go from Sandy Creek Nature Center down to the State Botanical Gardens. So I would love if you brought that up, because I mentioned it and there wasn't much of a response back a couple of years ago. But
I think that this would be a huge win if we were able to do it. I'm not sure exactly, Daniel, how once you reach Millage, how you get to the botanical gardens safely. But I guess, is there a decent bike lane on Millage? That's kind of rough.
The connectivity really
Railroad tracks.
Yeah, the railroad tracks. I've tried those before.
And I have been notified that UGA does own that rail line, that right-of-way railroad track now. I believe they may have some future plans for connectivity along there. But yeah, that would be essentially right there at, not right here, but a little further down. If you zoom out and go south, you can see that with a rail alongside that, you could.
You got the whole thing. You got all the way down to.
It's north from here. Or is that it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. So you could actually connect, and that maybe would require a signal. I'm not really sure, but getting across the road would be a little tricky. Maybe we do a mid-block crossing.
Is there a way that I could get somebody to provide me with just kind of the rough details of what we're talking about here? And if I could have that, I'd be more than happy to address the Greenway Commission with the topic and copy Lauren to be involved in the discussion if you so desire. I mean, I could go ahead and, prior to our, next meeting, send an email going, hey, this is me reporting back. And
yeah, I think we could actually give you the construction documents, Ronnie. Is that something we can do?
Yes.
Would that suit your needs?
I think it should.
And
Yeah, that would be great, Ed.
Yeah, we're a little bit in the weeds on this, but I do like this discussion. I just want to provide a little bit more context because I think it is our mode of operation to not create any gaps with our projects. But I want to just underscore that with this project in particular, with Riverbend Road, we did not recommend the multi-use path. That was a commission defined option. And so that's why there seems like there's a gap. To Ronnie's point, as we're thinking about our limited funds, there are technically bike ped facilities along College Station Road right now. You can take a bike lane and get to this crosswalk and hit a button and cross over. So I just want to just kind of point that out, that it seems like there's a gap, but it's just because the commission went one way and there are facilities there. Now, there's always the issue when you have facilities on one side of the road or a multi-use path, like what happens when the path ends and you have to interact with the rest of the roadway. And
So forgive me, Lauren.
Yeah.
'Cause, am I looking at in the bottom left, Riverbend Road
Yes.
and then the North Oconee Access Road on the top right?
yeah, sorry, it's so tiny.
Okay, thank you.
It's big on my screen. Yeah, so yeah, if Greenway Commission was able to step in, I don't know, I think it all depends on like what that SPLOST funding language says.
Sure.
And a lot of times it does tend to be specific, or sometimes it's like according to the plan as passed in 2016. But yeah, that's the context there is it seemed like there's a gap, but it's just because a different option was chosen by our elected officials at the time.
Sure. Well, I think at this point, it would probably be best for me not to try and provide too much specificity or, looking for a direct yes or no, but rather to raise the topic for discussion.
Yeah.
I believe at this point with the Greenway Commission, it would be including it in the Greenway Network Plan. I believe it's an alternative right now. I could double check that, but
I think that's right, Daniel.
yeah, the current funding, the most flexibility that exists is in the 2023 T-SPLOST funding. There is some flexibility in the language about it doesn't necessarily have to be, it's for that section of trail along MLK, or if there are residual funds, connectivity within the area. So I believe it is bound to kind of a geographic interpretation. And so we're looking at, and with the TAP grant that we did receive from GDOT to build part of that, we could have some leftover funds, but I think this would be too far away. It would be worth, I think when we get to that stage, once the trail is built and that connectivity is identified, we can really start talking about it then. But we're still years away from having the MLK section even started or built. I believe we're starting it now, but
This just seems like a good thing to throw on the radar.
yeah, for sure. And I'll go ahead and check the.
It seems a little bit early to be having this conversation. As Ronnie had said, and we haven't figured out our criteria for the gaps, and yet we've got people already trying to put a stake in the ground saying, fill this gap that's.
Yeah, and I think that we weren't necessarily saying that. I think that there was just an idea of like, oh, is this something that could go to the Greenway Commission, which has a separate bucket of funds that we have no control over. But I think that. Yeah.
And I think just raising their awareness of, a potential opportunity. I mean, it may come to absolutely nothing.
Sure.
Yeah, I believe it looks, this is the 2016 update. Why is that still on their website? Interesting.
Y'all, thanks for getting in the weeds on that one a little bit. I think if you have to revisit it, that's one of the.
I like to point out it wasn't my fault.
I just like, let's look at the map. I got excited about it. All right, any updates from the corridor committees?
Atlanta Highway canceled the meeting, so nothing from Atlanta Highway.
I know we have a Prince Avenue meeting tomorrow that was canceled, and I honestly cannot remember the last meeting because it was a month ago. So, but I am still looking for a potential replacement, and it's still up in the air whether I need to whether we need to have a person on this committee who's approved. So stay tuned. Anything from Lexington, Randy?
So at the last meeting, there's just a quick update on the safety walk that was performed. A few things that were identified and Daniel, the map that was shown, that was from the engineering group that is working with Derek.
Nash.
Yeah, and there were some interesting, they did like an initial proposal and had a multi-use, showed a multi-use trail coming off the Firefly Trail that would connect to Lexington and the sidewalks and or multi-use trail. It was kind of high level drawing.
Yeah, and that's for the safety screening, right?
Yeah.
That is actually not Benesh, that's Pond.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so Benesh is doing the plans for the south side, the sidewalks on the south side of Lexington. Pond is doing the safety screening, which is building out our list of proposed projects. And kind of, the user group is looking through those proposals. It's essentially saying, okay, what are we going to do with that $8 million out of the T-SPLOST 2023 funds? And so, yeah, a connectivity of a multi-use path from the Firefly Trail down to, I believe, well, there's multiple sections of it, but it's kind of like in 3 sections, a multi-use path to connect. Is
Yeah,
also
the only thing I was a little concerned with is the proposal of a multi-use trail on the north side. Because, I mean, there's a lot of commercial activity there. They keep building, more. There's a Whataburger going in. And eventually that section will be so crowded with pedestrians that a cyclist won't be able to use it. If it's just a multi-use pathway, but it's something I'll be sending recommendations back to Derek and the bunch. You've seen it in Winterville already, Firefly Trail, which is great. I love to see the people out there. It's awesome, but man, it's getting crowded.
Right.
I'm gonna just going back to the Greenway plan. This is the approved 2020 edit, I believe. So what we're kind of discussing is potentially like, I guess we could frame it as a request from the Athens in Motion Commission, Lauren, if you wanted, but essentially Transportation Public Works is building a multi-use path that goes along this road that would tie into this section. So you're essentially saving however many miles along the river corridor. This is right here, going behind a lot of residential houses as well. And a couple bridges. That's probably $20 million project to get from the end here down towards Whitehall, where you could then connect over to the State Botanical Gardens. So this could be an adjustment that actually adds into the alignment a section along here.
Yeah. Okay, can you resend this to me? Because we're gonna run out of time.
Yeah, I gotta leave it.
Thank you for digging this up.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, that was it for Lexington.
Yeah.
And any other committee updates that we have not already covered?
T-SPLOST didn't have a meeting.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all know, probably for those of you who are on the ad hoc plan revision committee, we probably will not schedule a meeting until Daniel gets back. So that will save Ronnie a meeting.
Right.
PTA.
Just that we're having our annual safety vehicle bicycle inspection, November 16th. Bike Athens has graciously appeared to attend until as long as they can. So we're looking forward to that. And next month we'll report back and see how it goes.
Great. Good event. Greenway, anything? We will go around and do our commissioner rounds, parting thought, anything else you want to mention, starting with, I started with you last time. Alan.
Nothing to add.
Sorry, not to jump back on Riverbend Parkway, but
Yeah.
I did use your idea. I was in a meeting about reducing the amount of vehicles on UGA's campus in brainstorming session. And we talked about that stretch of Riverbend and how many students live out there. But I did talk about the lighting aspect of it too. So that's kind of been laid out there so far. The seed has been planted. We'll see what happens.
Okay. My parting thought is a question, is the geofencing on the bikes, on the spin bikes?
It is not.
Okay,
It's still on campus.
all right. Teresa.
My parting thought is, Daniel, we love you. Have a great vacation and come back all rested and happy.
Randy?
Because we'll just start wearing you out again.
Yeah, get ready.
I'm ready.
And, at least the top part, cool shirt. Okay, can't quite make out the whole
Halloween.
thing.
No, it's cute.
Couple of things. I'll keep it real brief. First of all, I want everybody to know that when you're not seeing me show up for tabling, other than that time I just blew it off.
Okay.
It's really, my responsibilities with the Oconee Rivers Audubon tie up my weekends in the fall and the spring.
Sure, yeah.
And so I want to, say,
Okay.
it's not that I don't love y'all.
We haven't been talking trash about you.
Okay, all right. And then.
Consider that important.
Of course, yeah, and I am going to try to continue to attend at least virtually the ad hoc meetings. Okay. But your meeting falls directly in the middle of the Greenway Commission meeting.
Okay.
Okay, and so long as you decide to hold it on that third Tuesday at 4:00, I can't come. If you change that, I'd be very interested in participating.
Well, we're going to be the third Thursday, which is our typical, the 16th, but that's also the first day of the summit. And so I did not realize that until we discussed that today.
But just long and short, I am looking for opportunities to try and contribute more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Ed, you can also communicate back that's why I sometimes miss those Greenway meetings, is because my primary duty is to the Athens in Motion Commission and the committees.
Well, it's too late. We were already trash talking you.
I know.
All right, Julie, parting thought.
Yeah, Porch Fest, I thought was really fun. It was a awesome opportunity to figure out like education and outreach for Athens in Motion. So just want to say again, I'm really happy to be here with y'all and excited to continue kind of growing within this commission.
Yeah, we're excited to have you and your energy. Art, parting thought from afar.
Well, just thanks for accommodating this WebEx. I'll try to keep my overlapping, conflicting trips to a minimum, but I'm grateful that I could do this. Thanks.
Daniel, parting thought.
Adios.
Thought.
Daniel, don't leave.
It's too late, Ronnie. I already checked in for my flight.
All right, Scott, parting thought. What you got going on?
This Friday, we've got a joyride at 6:00, so come out.
From the new place.
The new place.
Under Daily Groceries by Authentic. Congratulations, awesome.
Be out of town, otherwise I'd do it.
Yeah.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Okay, first Teresa, second from Randy. All those in favor? Aye. Great, 6:02.